Welcome into the LMU men's basketball report for January 16th. Scott rolling in with head coach Josh Schertz. Coach, didn't get to catch up with you last week, so we got a lot to talk about. Obviously, that snowed out game forced you guys to play a lot in the last 6 days. Coming off a three games in 6 day stretch, like we talked about, and you guys handled themselves pretty well, all things considered. So just talk about the past week and what that's been like.
Well, it was obviously, we were, the snow that fell on Thursday and what was scheduled in Charlotte, it made it almost impossible for us to get out of here and get off the mountain. So had to push back to Monday. Obviously, we knew going in that it was going to be a tough week. 3 games in 6 days is difficult in the best of circumstances. 3 games in 6 days when you're shorthanded is even more difficult. And then obviously combined with 2 of those 3 on the road against quality opponents and being away for 4 days. We left Sunday and didn't get back here till about 4 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. So it was a pretty grueling deal. We flipped around in a 1-day turnaround for Catawba, as we took off Thursday and then prepared Friday for Catawba and came out and had to play Saturday. So thought our guys, showed a lot of toughness, showed a lot of resolve, showed some good signs over the week. Obviously, went in and I thought really competed well at Queens. It was obviously a difficult loss in a lot of regards. We expend a lot of energy physically and mentally, and then to have to turn around and play less than 48 hours against a good Anderson team on their home floor, and then with Catawba, I thought again our guys really showed a lot of character, showed a lot of competitiveness, and some good things that show that we care and are some positive signs for our team moving forward.
Okay, well, and then what did you learn about your team following that? The game at Queens is obviously a really tough pill to swallow. You feel like you're playing without Emmanuel, playing without Deshaun, and some other stuff going on, and then you work all the way back, fight all the way back from a 13-point deficit, and game really felt like it could have gone either way in overtime, and then just kind of fall a little short. But then what did you learn about your team with how they came back and played against an Anderson team, like you said, less than 48 hours later?
Well, I think, obviously, yeah, like you hit the nail on the head with the Queens game. It was we knew obviously they got a tremendous team. They're a national championship caliber team. I think they have all the pieces, not just the talent, but all the the intangible things as well. And so we knew going in it was going to be again, even at full strength, would be a tall order, and with what we were dealing with Emmanuel and Deshaun and then Lou having to sit the first 10 minutes, those were things that gave us less than ideal circumstances. But that being said, I thought our guys battled. Certainly Queens controlled the regulation. They controlled the 40 minutes. We really rallied back inside the final minute and were able to tie that thing, and Hunter makes 2 massive free throws to send it to overtime, and I thought at overtime we controlled it. And we really had a number of times a 5-point lead and a 3-point lead and some areas that and when it comes down to it, in games like that to close games, you have to there's really 3 variables that go into close games. I think you got to defend at a high level, you got to execute at a high level, and you got to be lucky. And it's all 3 of those things. When you come down to a game like that, it comes down to a shot. It's a coin flip, and we've got to do a better job defensively. We've got to do a better job executing to close games like that. We've obviously been in that situation now 3 times and come up short all 3 times. Carson Newman there, Newberry here, and then Queens there. So I've got to do a better job. We've got to do a better job. We've got to play better down the stretch of the games. I've got to coach better down the stretch of the games, and we've got to make improvements. But that being said, to have something like that happen and to basically feel like you let one slip away that you could have stole. We would have stole it. Like I said, Queens controlled the majority of the game, but to let that slip away and then have to turn around, I think that's always you really find out a lot about yourself. When you have something really bad happen or some type of adversity, and I think that was. Our guys showed tremendous character and competitiveness and mental toughness. We came out and had a really short practice on Tuesday at Anderson and shot around, and guys were fatigued. To come out and give effort and get up 25 in the first half. We were down 7. I called a timeout, down 13-6, and all of a sudden, you look up and we're up 25 in the first half and went up 22 in the locker room. It was about as good as 16 minutes we played all year. So we learned a lot about ourselves. We definitely know they care. We definitely know they're competitive. I think we're getting better, but it's always not good. You never want to go through adversity, but it's part of a season, and then you get to see how guys respond. And I was really proud of our team and how they responded as a group.
When some of those qualities you mentioned, going from the Queens to Anderson game, you mentioned again the Catawba game, another tough kind of situation. You come back, take the day off Thursday, and then practice Friday, and you're playing another good team in Catawba here. Short turnaround, but you talked about another slow start, kind of starts a little lethargic, a little fatigued, get down 9-0, and then next thing you know, it's all LMU, and you end up cruising up by 32 in the second half and end up winning by 21. So just talk about that game.
Yeah, I thought it was similar to Anderson. We got off to a really slow start. We came out and just they were taking it to us on both sides of the ball, and burned an early timeout again. And I think guys responded and really were able to clamp down defensively. I thought the job that Luquan did on Jameel Taylor, who's in my opinion one of the very best players in the league. He did a tremendous job on them, and we did a nice job on the backboards in the first half, particularly on the defensive backboards, and I thought we executed offensively pretty well, and so I thought again, it was kind of the same deal. You're playing a good team. It's I knew going into it was one of those ones we have to kind of grind it out in the sense that we weren't going to be feeling great. Everybody had. It's one thing to play 2 games in 3 days, but then you're taking the bus trip back, and like I said, you're arriving back here at 4 in the morning, and guys had class, and they hadn't been in class Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, so classes in study hall and trying to get caught back up, and then you got a 1-day deal to try to prepare for a team that's really good, and Rob obviously does an outstanding job. He's they run a lot of stuff. They've got really some really good players, obviously, and Taylor, and then you got guys like Arrington, Morrison, Constantine, Warren. I mean, they throw a lot of good players at you, do a lot of different stuff. So, when they do stuff, it's a tough prep because defensively, they play some man, they play some 1-3-1, they press a little bit, so they mix it up. And again, I was proud of our guys in terms of I thought, Friday they prepared well, and they're starting to get better at the day-to-day stuff that you have to do. There's no, secrets to this. You got to go in and practice every day, kind of empty the tank, and make sure you're giving everything you have in terms of developing the right habits and preparing. You got to obviously have a strategy for what you want to do and what you think will be successful, and then you got to go out and execute it when you get in between the lines, against whoever you're playing. And I thought that was difficult last week, given Queens we had obviously a much longer preparation, but then anytime in this league you have a longer preparation for one, you're going to have a shorter turnaround for the other. So that was the trade-off, right? So, but I was really happy with how they prepared and again how they went out and executed.
Well, and then it doesn't really get any easier this week, and for the next 5 games, you're on the road 4 times. This week, not playing a home game at all, and it starts on Wednesday at Tusculum, a team that's been kind of strange story this year. Started off really well for their first 5 games they won, and then have struggled of late. They're just 3-7 in their last 10 games, but we just saw they gave Queens all they wanted on Saturday night, so we know that Tusculum's a pretty talented team and a veteran team. So just talk about that group.
Yeah, well, you see, they were tooth and nail there with Queens, and Mike's done an excellent job. He's got a team that is really, I think, offensively they're talented. They score, averaging over 85 a game. They shoot nearly 40% from 3. They make, I think, 11 threes a game. It's they've got a lot of different weapons. I mean, whether it's Patterson or Baylark or Fagan, or they throw it inside to Mounts, which is not a bad option at all. They got a guy like Zach Davis. It's an absolute Tasmanian devil out there. He plays so hard, and he's offensive rebounding. And then they got some young kids that are coming along. And, I think they have a lot of guys back from last year. If you think back to last year, they gave us as much trouble as anybody in the league, in terms of being able to stop them, being able to to handle them. I thought we played a game that went deep in, before it was decided at their place. I think it was a 5-point game here, and then we played them again in the tournament and played better in the conference tournament. But his teams have always played really well. They seem to rise to the occasion when you look at them. I mean, they, against us last year, Queens was nationally ranked, and I think they beat them at the end of last year. And so his teams rise to the occasion. They play their best against the best competition. But they're also, I mean, they're plenty capable. They've got a lot of weapons on the offensive end. They're playing really kind of a matchup zone defensively, and which is a little bit unique. They usually were a man team, and they've kind of made some adjustments there. And so, like a lot of teams in this league, it's so packed. You have Queens, and then really there's a jumble, and there's a lot of it is dictated on how you do in close games, which. We've dropped 2 of those in the league, but that's kind of how or 3 of those in the league. I'm sorry, but that's how you look at somebody's record. And for them, they've had some close ones that have fallen their way, and a couple that have gone against them. So we'll see. They've only lost twice at home. Lost to Catawba at home by 3. Lost to Queens at home by 4. They've won all the rest of their home games. So we'll have a tremendous challenge. Hopefully we'll be a little fresher, a little pep in our step, today as we get ready for practice and the 2-day preparation, and we'll be a little bit fresher. Guys have had 48 hours to kind of get away and decompress and stay out of the gym, and now, we get back on the floor today. We got to ramp it back up and prepare well and really have 2 good days of practice leading into, a really difficult challenge on Wednesday.
Well, and then one of the things you mentioned was Tusculum was a team that during the regular season particularly gave us a little bit of trouble last year during that long winning streak. They were the only team between the loss at Bellarmine and the national championship game that lost to us by less than double digits. So what was it about Tusculum last year and in particular that just causes trouble for LMU?
Well, I think they're, they have so many weapons you can't really focus on. One guy. I think as the last year, and I think this year as well, they have a lot of guys that can shoot the ball from the perimeter. Patterson's an excellent player. Fagan's an excellent player. Baylark is averaging almost 16 a game and shooting almost 50% from 3. So you got guys that can just really score and get their own and are terrific one-on-one offensive players, which when you're spread out like that. And you got guys that can make plays. That's really difficult. They're similar, a little bit similar to Queens in that regard, where they got a lot of guys that can shoot it and drive it, and they spread you out, and then like I said, with all that being spread out and trying to get to shooting, they have one of the dominant post players in the league in there, in Chase Mounds, who's 6'10", and and that's a hard deal, because if you bring guys down and you really double him or deep dig him, then you're giving guys threes on the perimeter, and so you really got to make some decisions on what you're willing to live with, and you can't take everything away, so you have to live with whether it's Mounts playing one-on-one in the post or trying to take away the 3, and like I said, they got guys that can get downhill, so they pose a lot of problems, and they do, not just for us, but I think for everybody in the league. And so we'll try to go in with a game plan, see what we think we can do, and how we want to guard them, and then obviously how we want to try to attack the matchup and what we think we can do, and to take advantage there. But they're I think very similar to last year. They got a lot of the same guys back. They lose Darius Carter, but they bring in the Baylor kid, a kid that's averaging 16 a game, 15-7 I believe, and so they're just kind of picking up where they left off, and without Schoen out there, they're playing a little bit smaller at the 4, but whether it's Hartle or Davis or Hodnett or whoever, they got guys out there. They got 4 shooters out there at all times.
Well, and then after the game at Tusculum, which is one of the shorter trips that we make all year, you got to turn around and make the longest trip in the conference of the year and start the second half of the conference schedule, going to Coker. We remember the Coker game, pretty lopsided affair here at Textron Arena, 115-74 win. But what might be different this time around, especially with the trip to Hartsville?
Yeah, well, I think I just think when you look at it, every game's different. You can never look at and see things you did or things you didn't do in a game, but I would assume that just like us, Coker's a much better team than they were when we played. I think it was December 5th or something like that, maybe December 3rd. But anyway, they're a much better team than they were then, and I hope we are as well. I'm sure they'll look at things they did and make some adjustments in terms of whatever their strategy is, and we'll look at things and look at how they're playing. I noticed. Their last game, I think, they went down, the Crush team went down there, and I haven't watched that game yet, but it was an 84-78 game. Scores were a little bit lower than what they've been. I think they're playing some different guys, and they have a younger team, so it's starting to, I think, for them, there's a huge growth, and I think you'll see them be a much better team, obviously on their home floor and just with younger guys now, having played a little more than half a season of college basketball. I think they'll be a much improved team. They're another team capable of beating anybody, and they're much better on their like really all teams are much better on their home floor. It's a really long trip. It's almost 7 hours down there. And so you got to get down there and try to obviously get ready to play. And their student section, the 2 years I've been down there, what's doing with that new facility has been great. They get really good crowds. They're into the games. Eric's got them playing hard. You can tell, they're very competitive. They're flying around. They force a ton of turnovers. They offensively have a lot of guys, similar to Tusculum, where a lot of guys that can go and make plays, inside, outside of the offense. Obviously everybody runs what they run, and then basketball, when things break down, you got to improvise. They got a lot of guys that are capable at improvising and doing good stuff. So I expect, obviously, a much different game, much more competitive game down there. We'll have to that's one of the things, is making sure that our guys don't read into, what happened December 3rd and think what happened December 3rd is going to have any effect on January 21st. It's kind of a ridiculous notion that, because this happened then, that, they're different, we're different, a different venue, different everything, and we'll have to play very well to have a chance to win down there. I know that.